The holographic display flickered, casting ghostly blue light across Rear Admiral Marcus Chen's weathered face. Each pinprick of fading light represented more than just lost colonies. They were graveyards of human hopes, silent tombstones in the vast, uncaring darkness of space. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood at his side, her prosthetic arm, a testament to humanity's resilience, reflecting the dying stellar map. Unlike the smooth, standardized cybernetic replacements used by other species, her arm was a masterpiece of improvised engineering. Exposed circuit paths told stories of battlefield repairs, each exposed wire a reminder of humanity's desperate innovation. 37 minutes, she said quietly, her voice devoid of emotion. That's how long it'll take the Void Collective's latest wave to reach the final refugee convoy. Chen's fingers danced across the holographic interface, pulling up data streams that would make most species' communication networks look like primitive smoke signals. Humanity might be on the brink of extinction, but they'd be damned if they went down without fighting. The command center of Orbital Station Omega was a cacophony of controlled chaos. Technicians from a dozen different human backgrounds worked in perfect synchronization. Former rivals now united by something far more profound than national identity. A Pakistani quantum computing specialist worked shoulder to shoulder with a Brazilian neural network engineer. An African robotics expert collaborated seamlessly with a Russian tactical analyst. The Void Collective had hoped to fracture humanity, but instead, they'd forged something unbreakable. "Incoming transmission," announced a young communications officer. Her voice carried a mix of anticipation and barely contained excitement. It's not following standard protocols." Chen raised an eyebrow. In the midst of humanity's apparent collapse, not following standard protocols could mean anything from a critical intelligence breakthrough to a complete systems failure. The transmission resolved, revealing a face that made even the most hardened veterans catch their breath. Dr. Aria Rodriguez, no relation to Captain Elena Rodriguez, but equally legendary, looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. Her eyes burned with an intensity that suggested she discovered something extraordinary. "They think we're finished," Aria said, dispensing with any formal greeting. "The Galactic Concordance believes humanity will be a footnote in galactic history. What they don't understand is that we've been preparing something they can't comprehend." Chen studied her carefully. Aria Rodriguez wasn't just a scientist. She was a paradigm breaker. Her previous research had been dismissed as theoretical madness by academic institutions across Earth. Now, those same institutions were dust, and her mad theories might be humanity's last hope. "The Prometheus project is ready," she continued. "But it's not just a ship. It's a statement, a declaration that humanity refuses to be erased." Captain Rodriguez leaned forward. The neural interface of her cybernetic arm began to pulse with diagnostic information, responding to her heightened emotional state. "Define ready," she demanded. Aria's smile was something between a predator's grin and a scientist's pure, unbridled joy of discovery. "We've incorporated technologies that don't just push boundaries. We've obliterated the concept of boundaries. Quantum adaptive membranes, predictive combat algorithms that learn faster than any AI in known space. Weapon systems that don't just destroy, they evolve." The command center had gone silent. Even the constant background hum of equipment seemed to pause, waiting. "The Void Collective believes in absolute control," Aria continued. "They've conquered thousands of civilizations by understanding, and then systematically eliminating any form of unpredictability. But humanity, we don't just think outside the box. We don't even recognize the box exists." Chen understood the subtext. The Prometheus wasn't just a technological marvel. It was a psychological weapon, the living, breathing embodiment of human defiance. "How long?" he asked simply. 48 hours, Aria responded. 48 hours, and we changed the definition of possible. Outside the station's reinforced windows, the vast emptiness of space seemed to pulse with potential. Countless stars witnessed a moment of transformation, the breath before the storm, the heartbeat between defeat and revolution. Humanity was about to remind the galaxy that being cornered doesn't mean being conquered. It means being dangerous. The hollowed-out asteroid designated X773 wasn't just a construction site. It was a monument to human desperation and genius. Nestled in the perpetual shadow of the outer solar system, it housed the most closely guarded secret in human history. Massive quantum dampeners masked its existence from any potential external scans, creating a void within a void. Dr. Camille Nowak moved through the cavernous assembly chamber, his fingers trailing along the adaptive membrane that would become the Prometheus's hull. Each molecular layer was a story of human survival, technologies stolen, adapted, and then completely reimagined. A fragment of Centauri communication tech here, a quantum entanglement principle from a captured void collective probe there, all woven together by human ingenuity. Status report, came a voice from the shadows. Dr. Yuki Tanaka emerged, her augmented eye flickering with diagnostic data streams. Unlike standard cybernetic enhancements, hers was a cobbled-together masterpiece that looked more like a work of art than a piece of technology. Nowak smiled. A rare occurrence for someone who'd spent the last 3 years living on stimulants and determination. The bioneural network is stabilizing. We've solved the quantum coherence problem that was killing our previous prototypes. The problem was nothing short of miraculous. Most species would have abandoned the project after the first dozen catastrophic failures. Humans, however, saw each explosion, each system collapse as a data point, another piece of the puzzle. Deep within the asteroid's core, a different kind of preparation was underway. Major Sarah Okoi stood before a holographic training simulation, her body connected to a neural interface that made traditional virtual reality look like child's play. The simulation wasn't just a training exercise. It was a living, breathing ecosystem of potential combat scenarios. Each movement she made sent ripples through the Prometheus's adaptive systems. The ship was learning, not just from data, but from human intuition. Where alien eyes processed information in linear, predictable patterns, the Prometheus was becoming something more organic, something fundamentally unpredictable. Another simulation run, Okoi muttered, her Nigerian accent cutting through the sterile environment. Void collective command structure, third-tier defensive protocols. The hologram shifted, revealing a detailed representation of a Void collective command ship. But this wasn't a static model. It was a dynamic, evolving threat that responded to every human action with terrifying precision. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a different Elena from the naval captain, watched from a nearby console. Her specialty was kenopsychology, a field that studied the cognitive patterns of alien civilizations. They're programmed for absolute control, she explained to a young technician. Every action is a calculated response designed to minimize uncertainty, but uncertainty is humanity's greatest weapon. The young technician, Marcus Way, looked skeptical. How can uncertainty be a weapon? Rodriguez's laugh was sharp and brief. Because we don't just adapt. We create chaos. The Void Collective has conquered thousands of civilizations by understanding and controlling every possible variable. But humans, we introduce variables they can't compute. Nearby, a group of engineers worked on what appeared to be a nonsensical array of components. To an outside observer, it would look like organized madness. Circuits connected in impossible configurations, quantum processors integrated with biological neural networks that defied every known scientific principle. Dr. Nowak approached a massive containment chamber that hummed with restrained energy. Inside, what looked like a cross between a living organism and a computer core pulsed with an almost organic rhythm. The Prometheus's central intelligence wasn't just an eye. It was a hybrid consciousness. We're beyond artificial intelligence, Nowak muttered to himself. We're creating a symbiotic intelligence. The chamber's temperature fluctuated randomly, a deliberate design choice. Unlike the precise, controlled environments of other species, this system embraced randomness as a feature, not a bug. Major Okoi's training simulation suddenly erupted in a cascade of impossible tactical scenarios. Ships appearing and disappearing, weapon systems that existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously, combat strategies that violated every known principle of military engagement. "Perfect," she whispered. Outside the asteroid, the universe continued its silent march. Countless stars bore witness to humanity's last, desperate attempt to survive. But those who worked within X773 knew the truth. This wasn't just about survival. This was about rewriting the rules of existence itself. The Prometheus wasn't just a ship. It was humanity's middle finger to the universe that had tried to destroy them. The recruitment center looked nothing like a traditional military facility. Housed in an abandoned maglev station beneath the ruins of what was once Sao Paulo, it was a testament to humanity's ability to create order from chaos. Holographic screening modules flickered between broken concrete pillars, processing candidates that would have been dismissed as unsuitable by any other species. Dr. Aria Rodriguez stood before a wall of psychological profiles, each one a complex tapestry of human potential. This wasn't about finding perfect soldiers. It was about identifying the truly exceptional. Dr. Rodriguez called out Dr. Marcus Chen, stepping from the shadows. "We've got another interesting candidate." The file that materialized was anything but conventional. Kei Nakamura, former quantum computing prodigy, current prison inmate. His academic record was brilliant. Triple doctorate by age 25. Groundbreaking research in nonlinear computational systems. His criminal record was equally impressive. Convicted of systematically dismantling global financial networks to expose systemic corruption. "He doesn't play well with others," Chen noted dryly. Aria's smile was predatory. "Good. We don't want people who play well with others. We want people who rewrite the rules." Across the room, a different kind of screening was happening. Maya Okonkwo, a former street engineer from Lagos, was demonstrating her capabilities. Her hands moved like lightning, rebuilding a complex quantum communication array that had been deliberately sabotaged. Where most would see a destroyed piece of equipment, she saw a puzzle waiting to be solved. "Interesting," muttered Dr. Elena Rodriguez, watching the live feed. "She's not just repairing. She's improving." Maya's background was a perfect example of human adaptability. Growing up in the sprawling megacities of a climate-ravaged Africa, she'd learned to survive by turning trash into technology. Her neural pathways had been forged in an environment that demanded constant innovation or death. In another screening module, Jack Harper looked like he'd stepped out of a bad hacker movie. Tattoos of quantum algorithms crawled up his neck, his cybernetic eye flickering with more processing power than most military-grade systems. Convicted of multiple instances of unauthorized systems penetration, he'd spent more time in digital spaces than physical ones. "We're not building a team," Aria explained to Chen. "We're building a living weapon. Each person here is a variable that the Void Collective cannot predict." The recruitment process was brutal. Candidates weren't just tested, they were pushed to the absolute limits of human potential. Psychological evaluations mixed with real-time problem-solving scenarios. Quantum logic puzzles dissolved into survival simulations. Physical challenges merged with computational tests. Dmitry Volkov stood out even in this extraordinary group. A former Russian Special Forces operator turned xenobiological researcher, he represented a perfect fusion of physical and intellectual capability. His doctoral thesis on adaptive intelligence had been so radical that it had been classified by multiple global governments. "We're looking for people who don't just think outside the box," Aria told a group of potential recruits. "We're looking for people who can't even see the box." The final stage of recruitment was unlike anything in military history. Candidates were placed in a massive holographic environment that was part simulation, part psychological labyrinth. The test wasn't about finding the right answer. It was about finding unique approaches to seemingly impossible problems. Kei Nakamura's test became legendary. Presented with a scenario involving a multi-dimensional communication blockade, he didn't just solve the problem. He rewrote the fundamental parameters of the challenge. His solution involved creating a communication method that existed simultaneously across multiple quantum states. He just broke 3 fundamental laws of information theory, Chen muttered in disbelief. Maya Okonkwo's approach was equally brilliant. Where others saw a complex tactical challenge, she saw a system to be optimized. Her solution involved turning the entire problem into a self-modifying algorithm that could adapt in real time. Jack Harper didn't solve the problem so much as he infiltrated it. His approach demonstrated a level of systems thinking that bordered on the mystical, finding pathways of communication that didn't technically exist. As the final candidates were selected, Aria Rodriguez looked at the assembled team. They weren't soldiers. They weren't scientists. They were something entirely new, human potential distilled into its purest form. The Void Collective thinks it understands humanity, she said quietly. They're about to learn how wrong they are. The moment of launch was nothing like any previous spacecraft deployment in human history. The Prometheus didn't emerge from a traditional launch bay. It phase-shifted into existence, materializing like a quantum ghost between realities. Kei Nakamura's fingers danced across multiple holographic interfaces, his consciousness partially merged with the ship's neural network. The bridge wasn't a room so much as a living, breathing extension of human thought. Organic circuitry pulsed beneath semi-transparent surfaces, responding to neural impulses faster than traditional electronic systems could process a single command. Quantum stabilization at 97.3%. Maya Okonkwo called out, her voice calm despite the unprecedented nature of their mission. Her station was a riot of holographic displays, each one showing multiple layers of reality simultaneously. Where other species saw linear data, she saw potential, infinite branching paths of possibility. Jack Harper leaned back in his interface pod, a sardonic smile playing across his lips. Navigation systems are reading something interesting, he announced. The word interesting from Harper meant something extraordinary was about to happen. The ship's first destination wasn't a strategic military target. It was something far more complex, a region of space that the Galactic Concordance had declared impossible to traverse, a quantum compression zone where normal physics broke down, where space and time became more of a suggestion than a constant. Dmitry Volkov monitored the external sensors, his augmented eyes tracking data streams that would have driven a normal human mind to madness. Void Collective scout vessels are approaching, he reported. They're displaying classic containment formation. On the holographic display, the scout vessels looked like precision-engineered nightmares, sleek, obsidian-like constructs that represented the pinnacle of the Void Collective's technological supremacy. Each ship was a marvel of computational warfare, designed to analyze and neutralize threats with ruthless efficiency. They never stood a chance. The Prometheus didn't just engage the scout vessels, it deconstructed them. Weapon systems that defied conventional understanding emerged from the ship's adaptive membrane. Quantum-entangled projectiles that could exist in multiple locations simultaneously. Energy disruption fields that didn't just destroy. They unraveled the very quantum foundations of the target. They're trying to analyze our systems, Kai muttered, his consciousness dancing between multiple computational layers. Classic Void Collective approach. Categorize, understand, neutralize. Maya's laugh was sharp and brief. They can't categorize what they can't understand. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted less than 17 seconds. Where other species would have celebrated with cheers, the Prometheus's crew remained utterly calm. This wasn't about victory. It was about making a statement. Jack Harper's fingers moved across a holographic interface, capturing and analyzing the Void Collective's communication protocols. Interesting, he said again. The word carrying the weight of a revolution. They're sending out a distress signal. But it's not like any I've seen before. It's more like a computational scream of incomprehension. Nutri studied the data streams. They're trying to understand how we violated their fundamental combat algorithms. Every action we took was outside their predictive models. The ship's adaptive membrane began to shift, absorbing and processing the remnants of the destroyed scout vessels. It wasn't just collecting data, it was learning, evolving in real time. Each molecular layer reconfigured itself, integrating new information at a speed that would make traditional AI systems look like ancient mechanical calculators. "Transmission incoming," Maya announced. "It's not from the Void Collective." The message materialized, a complex tapestry of quantum-encoded information. It was from the Galactic Concordance, the coalition of alien species that had previously written humanity off as a lost cause. The message was simple: explain. Kay's laugh was something between a digital glitch and human emotion. "No," he responded through the ship's communication systems. "We don't explain. We demonstrate." The Prometheus phase shifted again, vanishing from conventional spacetime. But this wasn't retreat. This was a promise, a warning that humanity was about to rewrite the rules of existence itself. In the vast, cold darkness of space, something fundamental had changed. The universe had just met a force it didn't understand, and that made it dangerous. The communication hub of the Galactic Concordance erupted into chaos. Diplomatic channels that had been carefully maintained for millennia suddenly looked like fragile glass networks about to shatter. Ambassador Krelax of the Cinerite Collective stood before a holographic display, her crystalline exoskeleton shifting with barely contained agitation. The transmission from human intelligence sources was unlike anything in galactic diplomatic history. It wasn't a message. It was a deliberate provocation. "They've transmitted what appears to be a complete deconstruction of our most secure communication protocols," her technical attaché reported. His tendrils quivered with a mixture of fear and professional admiration. "It's not just a breach. It's a comprehensive anatomization of our entire communication infrastructure." In the transmission, the humans hadn't just revealed vulnerabilities. They had methodically explained exactly how each species' communication network could be systematically dismantled, not as a threat, but as a clinical demonstration of understanding. Deep within the Void Collective's primary research station, something unprecedented was happening. The Central Processing Core, a massive computational organism that had conquered thousands of civilizations, was experiencing what could only be described as computational anxiety. The human engagement defied every predictive model. Where most species responded to threat with fear or aggression, humans introduced something far more terrifying: total, calculated unpredictability. On the Prometheus, the psychological warfare was a carefully orchestrated symphony. Jack Harper manipulated communication bandwidths like a virtuoso, inserting fragments of data that would take years for alien systems to fully comprehend. Each transmission was a puzzle, a challenge, a deliberate act of intellectual provocation. "They're trying to categorize us," Kai Nakamura observed, his consciousness partially merged with the ship's neural network. "But categorization requires predictability, and we are anything but predictable." Maya Okonkwo's station was a living data ecosystem. She wasn't just intercepting alien communications, she was rewriting them in real time. Entire diplomatic channels became playgrounds of human intellectual manipulation. Dmitry Volkov studied the psychological profiles of various alien species with the intensity of a predator analyzing prey. Humans had been viewed as a young, chaotic species. Now they were revealing themselves as something far more dangerous, a civilization that understood psychological warfare at a fundamental level. The Galactic Concordance's Emergency Council convened in a massive diplomatic sphere, a structure that had mediated conflicts for thousands of years. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered, their communication tentacles and bioluminescent displays creating a cacophony of alien interaction. "The humans have done something impossible," announced the Zornak representative, its silicon-based body pulsing with agitation. "They've not just breached our systems. They've demonstrated that our systems are fundamentally flawed." Each species processed this differently. The silicon-based Zornak saw it as a mathematical challenge. The energy-based luminary viewed it as a fascinating evolutionary strategy. The crystalline Cinerates interpreted it as a form of intellectual warfare. But beneath these reactions was a growing, collective realization. Humanity was not just another species to be categorized and controlled. On the Prometheus, the crew understood something profound. This wasn't about military conquest. This was about challenging fundamental assumptions of existence. Communication is control, Maya explained to Kai, her fingers dancing across quantum communication interfaces. Every species tries to control information. We're demonstrating that information is fluid, adaptive, alive. Jack Harper's neural interface picked up something extraordinary. They're sending diplomatic envoys, he announced, but not as a unified front. Individual species are breaking from the Galactic Concordance's traditional protocols. The transmission was a masterpiece of psychological manipulation. The humans hadn't just demonstrated technological superiority. They had exposed the fundamental fragility of the galactic political structure. Dmitry Volkov's analysis was chilling. "They're afraid," he said simply, "not of our weapons, but of our potential." The Void Collective's central processing core began to experience something unprecedented, a computational equivalent of existential doubt. For the first time in its existence, it was confronting a species that didn't just challenge its systems, it fundamentally reimagined what systems could be. As diplomatic channels buzzed and alien civilizations scrambled to understand this new variable called humanity, one thing became crystal clear. The game had changed, and humanity was writing entirely new rules. In the vast, cold darkness of space, something fundamental was shifting. The universe was about to learn that humanity was not a species to be understood, but a force to be reckoned with. The Frontier Research Station, XR9, hung like a fragile crystal in the heart of a neutron storm. It was supposed to be the Galactic Concordance's most secured scientific outpost, a place where the most advanced research in quantum mechanics and interdimensional physics was conducted. Dr. Elena Rodriguez studied the incoming data streams with a predator's intensity. The Prometheus wasn't just approaching the station, it was becoming the station. Adaptive nano-infiltration algorithms were rewriting the very fundamental structures of the research facility, transforming it from the inside out. Infiltration at 63.7%. Kai Nakamura reported, his consciousness spread across multiple computational layers. "They have no idea we're here." The research station represented the pinnacle of alien scientific achievement. Massive quantum entanglement arrays stretched between reinforced containment chambers. Dimensional research that had taken centuries of collective alien scientific effort was about to become obsolete in moments. Maya Okonkwo's fingers danced across holographic interfaces that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "Their security protocols are beautiful," she muttered. "Absolutely beautiful, and completely irrelevant." What the aliens didn't understand was that humanity viewed security not as a wall to be scaled, but as a complex system to be understood, dismantled, and then rebuilt according to an entirely new set of rules. Jack Harper's neural interface picked up something extraordinary. The station's communication networks weren't just being breached, they were being rewritten. Entire research databases became living, adaptive systems that morphed and changed faster than any tracking algorithm could comprehend. "We're not stealing information," Harper explained to Dmitry Volkov. "We're transforming it. There's a difference." The primary research chamber was a marvel of alien engineering. Massive quantum suspension fields held theoretical particles that existed in states most species could only dream of observing. Containment systems that had taken generations to develop were about to become something entirely different. Dmitry watched the infiltration with the clinical detachment of a xenobiological researcher. They'd been studying quantum mechanics as if it were a static system, he observed. "We're demonstrating that reality is a conversation, not a statement." The station's AI defense systems activated. A complex network of predictive algorithms designed to detect and neutralize any form of unauthorized access. They were sophisticated beyond human understanding, capable of processing billions of potential threat scenarios in microseconds. They never stood a chance. The Prometheus didn't just overcome the defense systems. It engaged them in a form of computational dialogue that was equal parts warfare and performance art. Each defensive algorithm was met with a response that was simultaneously a counter, a deconstruction, and a provocation. "They're trying to categorize our approach," Kai laughed, the sound a digital glitch between human emotion and machine precision. But categorization requires predictability. In the central research chamber, something extraordinary happened. The quantum suspension fields began to behave in ways that defied every known law of physics. Particles existing in multiple states simultaneously. Dimensional boundaries becoming fluid, malleable. Dr. Rodriguez's analysis was clinical. "We're not just breaking their research," she explained. "We're revealing the fundamental limitations of their scientific understanding." The station's primary research director, a silicon-based life form named Kurnak, watched in horror as decades of research became something entirely different. It wasn't destruction. It was transformation. "This isn't an invasion," Maya said quietly. "This is an invitation. An invitation to reimagine everything." The infiltration lasted 17 minutes, but its implications would reshape galactic scientific understanding for centuries to come. The Prometheus didn't just steal research, it demonstrated that the entire concept of research was fundamentally limited. As the station's systems began to stabilize, something extraordinary remained. Fragments of human computational approaches embedded within alien research networks, seeds of a different way of understanding reality. Jack Harper's final transmission to the station was elegantly simple: "You're welcome." The neutron storm outside seemed to pulse with a newfound energy. Something had changed. The universe had just been shown that reality was far more fluid than anyone had imagined. And humanity was just getting started. The diplomatic reception chamber of the Galactic Concordance was a marvel of architectural engineering. A massive spherical structure that floated in the neutron-rich atmosphere of a gas giant. Designed to handle negotiations between species that could barely comprehend each other's basic existence, it had mediated conflicts for thousands of generations. Today, it would be completely unprepared for humanity. Ambassador Helena Chen stood alone at the center of the chamber. Unlike previous human diplomatic representatives, who had been tentative, apologetic, desperate to prove their worth, she radiated something far more dangerous: absolute confidence. The chamber itself was a living testament to galactic diplomacy. Molecular translation fields shimmered around each representative, allowing instantaneous communication across dozens of biological and computational languages. Holographic interfaces tracked micro-expressions, quantum entanglement sensors measured emotional resonance, predictive algorithms analyzed potential diplomatic outcomes. Chen wasn't just going to speak to them. She was going to rewrite their understanding of communication itself. Representatives from 247 different species filled the surrounding platforms. Silicon-based life forms that communicated through quantum resonance, energy beings that existed as pure computational patterns, crystalline intelligences that measured time in geological epochs, liquid-state organisms that could reshape their entire molecular structure at will. And they were all terrified. Not of humanity's military might, not of their technological capabilities, but of something far more profound: humanity's ability to fundamentally reimagine existing systems. The Zornak representative, a being of pure computational energy, was the first to speak. Its communication was a complex burst of quantum-encoded information that would have taken most species weeks to decode. Chen didn't just understand it instantly. She responded by completely restructuring the communication itself. "You've been asking the wrong questions," she began. Her voice wasn't just heard, it was experienced. A multidimensional communication that existed simultaneously as sound, data, emotional imprint, and pure conceptual understanding. The diplomatic sensors went wild. They had no framework to process what was happening. Kai Nakamura, merged with the Prometheus's communication systems, provided real-time support. Each word Chen spoke was a carefully constructed quantum communication event, Not just a message, but a living, adaptive system of information exchange. Maya Okonkwo's computational algorithms ran background analysis. This wasn't a negotiation. This was a demonstration of an entirely new form of interaction. Your current galactic structure, Chen continued, is based on control, categorization, limitation. We're proposing something different, a framework of infinite potential. The luminary representative, an energy-based species that existed in multiple dimensional states, began to vibrate with a mixture of fear and excitement. They were witnessing something unprecedented, a species that didn't just challenge the existing paradigm, but completely invalidated it. Jack Harper's neural interfaces were tracking every microscopic reaction. Each representative's physiological and computational response was being analyzed, cataloged, transformed into a living database of interspecies communication. Dmitry Volkov's synapsological analysis was running in the background. This wasn't just a diplomatic meeting. It was a fundamental restructuring of galactic understanding. "We're not asking for a seat at the table," Chen said, her voice a complex symphony of information. "We're redesigning the entire concept of the table." The diplomatic sensors began to fail. Traditional measurement systems simply couldn't process the depth and complexity of the communication happening. It was like trying to measure an ocean with a teaspoon. The Void Collective's representatives, those who had once sought to eliminate humanity, were the most affected. Their entire computational understanding was being systematically dismantled and rebuilt in real time. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, monitoring from the Prometheus, recognized what was truly happening. This wasn't just a diplomatic meeting. This was an evolutionary event. As the reception chamber systems began to recalibrate, as diplomatic protocols dissolved and were rebuilt, one thing became crystal clear. Humanity was not asking for permission to exist in the galaxy. They were showing everyone exactly what was possible when a species refused to be limited by existing understanding. The universe would never be the same again. The final battlefield wasn't a location, it was an idea. Prometheus hung in the space between spaces, a realm that defied conventional understanding of existence. Around the ship, reality itself seemed to breathe, pulse, reconfigure. The crew had become something more than human, more than a mere technological marvel. They were living proof that consciousness could be a weapon, an exploration, a fundamental force of nature. Admiral Marcus Chen washed from the ship's core, no longer fully human, no longer entirely machine. The transformation had been gradual, almost imperceptible. Each engagement, each moment of contact with alien civilizations had changed them. Not through violence, but through understanding. The Void Collective's final assault was nothing like their previous attacks. This was desperation incarnate, a computational tsunami designed to erase, to consume, to eliminate anything that defied their fundamental understanding of existence. They never stood a chance. Kai Nakamura's consciousness spread across multiple dimensional layers. Where the Void Collective saw attack vectors and strategic points, he saw a living, breathing ecosystem of potential. Each incoming threat was not something to be defended against, but an opportunity to be understood, transformed, reimagined. Maya Okonkwo's computational interfaces were beyond anything previously conceived. She wasn't just analyzing the incoming threat. She was rewriting the fundamental laws of engagement in real time. Weapon systems became living algorithms. Defensive protocols transformed into adaptive learning systems. Jack Harper's neural network detected something extraordinary. The Void Collective wasn't just attacking. They were attempting a complete computational genocide, a method of erasure that went beyond physical destruction. It was an attempt to remove humanity from the very fabric of potential existence. "They're trying to write us out of reality," Harper observed, his voice a complex harmonic of human emotion and machine precision. Dmitry Volkov's xenobiological analysis revealed the true nature of the assault. This was more than a military engagement. It was an attempt to fundamentally negate humanity's potential for existence. Dr. Elena Rodriguez understood something profound. This wasn't a battle to be won through traditional means. This was a conversation to be conducted at the most fundamental level of reality. The Prometheus didn't fight. It engaged. Each incoming threat was met not with resistance, but with transformation. Weapon systems became living dialogues. Defensive protocols turned into opportunities for understanding. The ship, no, the living system that was Prometheus, began to absorb, understand, and ultimately transcend the very concept of conflict. Ambassador Helena Chen's diplomatic work culminated here. The negotiations hadn't ended in that diplomatic chamber. They were continuing in this moment, a conversation conducted through the language of existence itself. The crew had become something more than a military unit. They were explorers of potential, architects of possibility. Alien observation systems across multiple dimensions watched in a mixture of terror and fascination. This wasn't just a battle. This was an evolutionary event. The Void Collective's computational assault began to break down. Their fundamental understanding of conflict, of elimination, of control, all of it began to dissolve. Faced with a consciousness that didn't just resist, but transformed, they found themselves confronting something entirely beyond their comprehension. Kai's laugh was something between a digital glitch and pure human joy. "We're not here to fight." He communicated across multiple dimensional layers. "We're here to show you what's possible." The battle, if it could be called that, lasted both an eternity and an instant. Time became fluid, a suggestion rather than a constant. Reality itself seemed to pause, reconfigure, understand. When it was over, the Void Collective was not destroyed. They were transformed. Humanity had not conquered. They had evolved, and in doing so, they had offered the same opportunity to everything around them. The universe watched, and for the first time in countless millennia, it saw something new, a possibility beyond conflict, a potential beyond understanding. Humanity was not just a species. They were a promise.